Hey y'all, and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking a little bit more about the commutative property. If you remember from our other video, we said the commutative property is all about moving, just like your commute from work to home or from home to school. That's moving from one place to another. We saw some examples the other time when we said 2 plus 3 is the same thing if I move around those numbers as 3 plus 2, because they both give us an answer of 5. So we know then that we can move those numbers around. Let's look at a couple more examples, and then we'll move on and we'll test out whether it works for adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. Commutative property, remember we said was moving. So let's try 2 plus 7. Think in your head. I bet most of you already have it. 2 plus 7 is the same thing as 7 plus 2. Both of those, if I add them up, will give us 9. The interesting thing is this doesn't only work with just two numbers, this also works no matter how many adding numbers I have, no matter how many add-ins I add in. I could have 3, 4, 5, all the way up to hundreds and hundreds, and it would still work. I could still move them all around. Let's see an example. 1 plus 2 plus 9. If the commutative property works, this should be the same thing as if I move them around and say 1 plus 9 plus 2. Let's test it out. 1 plus 2 gives me 3, and I've got to bring down this 9. 3 plus 9 gives us 12. Okay, let's try the next one. 1 plus 9 gives us 10, and I've got to bring down this 2. 10 plus 2 gives us 12. Looks like I got the same answer. I want you to think really quickly, why would this be useful? Why would this be useful? I want you to look up here at what we've just done and think why this might be useful. Go ahead and pause the video for a second and think. Okay, hopefully some of you came up with some ideas as to why it was useful. For me, one of the things that's useful for it is that it can move some numbers together that are called compatible numbers, some numbers that are really easy to add together in my head. So even though 1 plus 2 plus 9, you can probably all do that one in your head, it's a little bit easier if I move together the 1 plus the 9 and say, I know that gives me a 10, then 10 plus the 2 gives me 12. Instead of trying to remember what 3 plus 9 is, 10 plus 2 is a little bit easier adding. So the commutative property lets us move things closer together that we'd like to add together first. That's our commutative property. Okay, I'm gonna write one and I want you to try it out. So let's write one here. Let's try go ahead and pause the video and write what you think. Okay, so using the commutative property, we can move these into a new location. 6 plus 3 is the same thing as if I had done 3 plus 6. All I did is I moved them to a new location. Pretty good. Let's try another one. This time, I'm going to make it a little bit more complicated. I'm going to add in not just two numbers, but I'm going to add in 3 numbers. What if I had 1 plus 2 plus 7? Think about if there's a different way of writing that. After you've come up with your other way, think if there's even more than just that one way. Go ahead and pause the video right now and try it. Okay, hopefully you came up with a couple different ways of writing this. We could write this as 1 plus 2 plus 7, or we could write this as 1 plus 7 plus 2. That's probably the most common one that I'll see people writing for this one. But I could move it around in some other ways as well. These ones both have the 1 in front, but what about putting the 2 in front? I could also have written 2 plus 1 plus 7, or I could put the 2 in front and mix up the 7 and the 1. 2 plus 7 plus 1. Another thing that I could do is I could put the 7 in front. I could say now I've got 7 plus 1 plus 2, or I've got 7 plus 2 plus 1. And no matter how I rearrange it, the commutative property of addition says that when I add all of these up, if I add 1 plus 2 plus 7, I'm going to get 10. So that means that our answer for all of these is 10. 10, and this one gives me 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 10. Every single one of those is equal to 10. All right, let's get a little bit more complicated now. Let's try to figure out, where does the commutative property work? Go ahead and I want you to think, before I tell you, I want you to pause the video and I want you to think, thumbs up or thumbs down. Is it going to work for adding? Is it going to work for subtracting? Is it going to work for multiplying? Is it going to work for dividing? Go ahead and pause the video right now and think for a second. When you're done, unpause it and we'll learn about it. Okay, so adding, we've already seen. We've been practicing with adding. We know that 1 plus 3 is the same thing as 3 plus 1, because both of those will give us 4. Since both of those give us 4, we know that it works for adding. Let's look at subtracting. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Do you think it's going to work for subtracting? Well, let's try. If I said 2 minus 3 and 3 minus 2, let's see if those are both equal. If I do 2 minus 3, I get negative 1. If I do 3 minus 2, I get regular 1. Are negative 1 and 1 the same? No. You would want to have negative $1. You'd rather have $1. If you have negative $1, you owe me some money. So, subtracting, it doesn't work. We're going to go ahead and we're going to put a big old X across subtracting. Let's try multiplying. Let's see if it works for multiplying. 2 times 10. If it works, it should be equal to 10 times 2. Let's test it out. 2 times 10 gives us 20, and 10 times 2 gives us 20. It looks like multiplying works. So I'm going to put a check mark right here next to multiply. Last one is dividing. Do you think it's going to work or it's not going to work? What do you think? Well, let's try it out. If I said I've got 10 divided by 5, if it works, that should be the same thing as 5 divided by 10. Well, 10 divided by 5, that gives me 2. And 5 divided by 10, that gives me 1/2, or 0.5. Is 2 the same thing as 0.5? No, it's not. So I'm going to cross this whole thing off. The commutative property doesn't work for dividing. All right, so now we've talked a little bit more about the commutative property. Hopefully you've been helped out. Let me know if you have any problems in the comments down below, and I hope to see you next time.